Hidden beneath the shadow of modern war machines like the Abrams lies a steel beast that once carried the pride of a superpower, the M60 Patton. To most, it's a relic of the Cold War, a museum piece too outdated for today's battlefields. But the true story of the M60 is far richer, more conflicted, and far more tragic than history books care to admit. It's a story of ambition, political compromise, and the desperate struggle of a machine caught between eras. When the M60 rolled out in 1960, the world was split in two. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in an ideological duel, not just for territory, but for technological supremacy. Tanks weren't just weapons, they were symbols of dominance. The M60 was born out of paranoia, forged in the belief that the Soviet T-series would soon overwhelm Europe. The Americans needed an answer, and they needed it fast. But the M60 wasn't the product of innovation. It was the child of fear. Instead of starting from scratch, the US military repurposed the old M48 Patton design, slapped on a new British-made 105mm Royal Ordnance L7 gun, thickened the armor, and called it a new generation. It was brilliant pragmatism disguised as progress. The Pentagon sold it as the main battle tank of the future. But beneath the surface, it was a compromise, a bridge between the fading doctrines of World War II and the jet-driven chaos of the Cold War. Few realize that the M60 was never supposed to exist for long. It was an interim machine, a placeholder until the next great tank emerged. Yet, like many military stopgaps, it overstayed its welcome. By the 1970s, it had spread across NATO like wildfire, fielded by dozens of allies who couldn't afford the high price of constant modernization. It became the face of Western armored strength, a patchwork of steel and hope lumbering across the plains of Europe. Behind its iconic silhouette lay a dark political tale. The M60's production wasn't driven purely by strategy. It was driven by industry. American defense contractors, seeing the opportunity to keep factories alive and budgets flowing, pushed for the tank's continued production long after it should have been retired. It was cheaper to upgrade old armor than to invent new ideas. So the M60 kept evolving, patched with new turrets, new optics, and eventually reactive armor. It became a survivor, not because it was invincible, but because bureaucracy kept it breathing. Then came the Gulf War. In 1991, under the desert sun, the M60 fought its final major campaign. The US had long since replaced it with the M1 Abrams. But American allies like Saudi Arabia and Egypt still fielded the old warrior. Against Iraqi T-62s and early T-72s, the M60 proved its worth one last time. It was slower, older, and far less protected, but its crews fought with a sense of grim determination. The tank's gun, though aging, could still shatter steel. Its engine roared like a dying beast refusing to fade quietly. Yet even in victory, its time had passed. What most people never knew was how close the M60 came to resurrection. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, several defense firms proposed radical modernization programs. They wanted to transform the M60 into a Phoenix tank, a hybrid of old frame and new technology. Thermal sights, digital fire control, explosive reactive armor, everything to drag the dinosaur into the new millennium. It was a noble effort, but doomed from the start. No amount of modernization could disguise its age. Against drones, anti-tank missiles, and smart munitions, it would have been nothing more than an armored coffin. And yet the M60 refuses to die. Even today, more than half a century later, it serves in the arsenals of smaller nations: Turkey, Jordan, Taiwan, and beyond. Some have re-engineered it beyond recognition, fitting it with new turrets and electronics. Others keep it alive simply because they have no choice. In many parts of the world, the M60 is more than a tank. It's a ghost of the past that still fights in the wars of the present. There's an irony in all this. The M60, designed as a temporary solution, has outlived many of the doctrines that created it. It has survived not because it was perfect, but because it was adaptable. It carried generations of soldiers through the Cold War, from Europe's forests to the Middle East's deserts. It became a teacher of warfare, a steel mentor reminding new crews that technology means nothing without discipline, courage, and will. The M60's hidden history is the story of how nations cling to the familiar, even when the future demands change. It's about how politics, economics, and pride can shape machines meant only for survival. It represents a truth that military history often hides. Progress isn't always innovation. Sometimes it's just endurance wearing a fresh coat of paint.